Well, it's an exciting day in the studio. I'm moving to the glazing stage of my deer in the snow painting that I've been working on. It's now the new year, it's 2026, and I'm excited to learn more about the Flemish technique and finish up this painting. I've been warned that it's going to take a massive amount of glazing to get exactly what I'm after, but that's all right. Mix a little bit more. I'm going for sort of a very gentle sunrise behind him. Wow, you just don't need hardly any pigment to get a glaze. I've wondered to myself several times why this technique, the luminance in the old master's painting is still around this many years later. I'm going to do more research on that. And it could be that these very thin layers of paint age a little bit better. I don't know. I'll look it up. I want to move from warm to light. And then I'm just going to put this little glaze on in the background. And any of my cool colors will be in the foreground. It'll appear that there's some very gentle sunrise morning light peering through the forest. Hoping that all of the frustration that I encountered, that I had to push through in the grisaille layer, is what makes this stage of the painting enjoyable. And I could already see how, just as long as I have the patience to layer the colors, it's going to be a beautiful look. There's just such a micro thin layer of paint going down. Got some light coming in back here. Tree. And we'll take a Viva paper towel and just tap it to tap off any excess. I don't want anything but a micro thin layer of paint. Alright, I'll bring you all back in when I have more done. Moving on to the deer now. I have an ever so thinnest glaze of raw umber and yellow ochre. The deer are a little bit more red than this, but I'm going to try to learn from color theory as much as I can and start with my warmer and then move cooler. So I'm going to try starting with my more yellow undertone in these deer, and then move in warmer and then add the grays towards the end. That glaze is a little thick, so I'll come in and smooth it out with my finger. I mean, just ever so barely layer of paint on there. Still picks up on all of our undertones there. It's kind of nice. So this technique is just blowing me away. This is only my first pass, and Tishan already said, you know, you could be doing glazes sometimes 40 deep. So the funny thing is I'm already in love with these muted, natural colors that it's giving me. Like, that's just so realistic for deer hair. I can't imagine what it's going to be like after 40 glazes. I am finding that even though a brush is nice for putting it on, I think my finger's about as good of a glazing tool as I can find. Bet a makeup brush would be pretty stellar as well. Or a makeup sponge is what I meant to say. Already liking it. I mean, come on, look how fun that is for getting deer hair texture. I can't imagine what that's gonna look like after 40 glazes of that scratching around. Hey, look at this. I really love pen and ink sketching, so I have this little nib laying around. Look at all the tiny little hairs by carving into that glaze. Eh. That is so cool. That's cool. All right, moving right along into our fourth layer. I want to increase a little bit of the rustiness in his head. There we go. And I'm able to keep what I've put down. Scratch into that a little, create some fur texture. So a really interesting approach. I'm glad I tried it, because now I can take what I've learned from here and incorporate the ideas of layering and glazing and scumbling for other paintings. Let's see. I'm gonna grab a cotton swab and just ever so lightly pull up where I don't want quite as much. Use the back of my brush, scratch into that glaze. He's got a way more fluffy head now. And then I want to deepen these darks here in his eyes. Let's see. His eyelash got a little long there. If I scratch it into this, I'll be able to get just a tiny bit more fur texture. Let's see, I think I'll add just a faint blue undertone here to this glaze. Increase the illusion of form on his nose. There's a shadow right there. I think I've got one right here as well. Here. Well, I guess I can go ahead and shut my camera off. I will be continuing like this all day, I guess. This area is a little warmer on whitetails, so I'm just glazing in some of my warmth. Careful with those edges. All right, now I guess I'll go ahead and continue it up to about right here. I notice it starts to stop right around in here, but there's a couple pockets that would be pretty warm. Maybe not so much there, but alright. We'll come in with some fur texture. Just slowly cut down on that glaze there. Blend out where we don't want quite as much as the glaze. The finger seems to be one of the best implements. Also, a makeup sponge seems to work really well. But yeah, I'm actually removing some of the glaze to what's under it whenever I'm scratching. A few more glazes, it'll look even better. So it's right here that I'm starting to think I'm crazy. This is level or layer 8, I think. I'm giving it little breathers, and I was wanting to see just how close I could get to Titian's saying sometimes he had to put on, what did he say? Sometimes 40 layers deep. I don't know if this paint's gonna need that. This is just a 12 by 16, and I feel like it's gonna start to look kind of goofy if I do that much on it. But it's been a blast learning this technique, and I'm kind of curious to see what I can learn from this technique that then will translate into all the other paintings I do that might be in a slightly more direct method. The couple key takeaways I can talk about right now is if you don't get something quite right, you know, don't panic, because coming back in and layering can sometimes make the painting just look really, really dreamy. And if you happen to be like correcting mistakes that you had made earlier, might be a blessing in disguise. It does, however, require a ton of patience to work in this method. I think my plan on future paintings will be to maybe focus a little bit more on the drawing end. Come in and try to do it the best I can do the first pass. And then do as much of this reworking around as I see fit. I don't think every painting's gonna need 40 layers at all. I could absolutely see if I was doing skin or portraiture, you know, that the 40 layers would give a great look. Man, I tell you, slow pace as it is, as I'm putting in all this glaze over my umpteen glazes I've already got down, I just could not get this working directly. This is such a deep, dreamy look. And while I think I could have skipped a couple steps and had the same result, it is so fun to see the complexity that you can get with the Venetian technique, or Flemish technique, sorry. I've just got so many layers of interest and complexity. My goal for this painting is, when you look at it, to feel like you are immersed in the forest. Now on my 9th layer, I've decided that the painting will benefit quite a bit from having a very subtle amount of light come in, and I don't want to oversaturate it just yet. Just a very soft and gentle morning light filtering through these branches, I think will help give more form to my wildlife here and help create a little bit more of a balance between warm and cool colors in the painting. I'm starting to finally get into a little bit of texture and impasto with this technique. My very fine brush and a little dollop of paint at the end is giving me these tiny little drops of texture. If I do something I don't care for, just turn my brush around, carve back into the wet paint. Let me get a new dollop of paint. Just a tiny little roll of paint on the tip of that. Exciting, not too far from being done. So I'm finishing up this painting on a snow day. In fact, my son is off of school due to it being a snow day. And I had just a couple areas where I had some value shift. And so I'm trying to remedy those areas, but keep the edges soft and not distract too much from the deer. I think it'll be time to sign this one today. And this makes level 10, I think. I think this has been 10 layers. I'll do the same over here in this little area. Just had it darken a little on me. Not really exactly sure why. I think it's due to the slight addition of gal kit I used, and so it goes to show the reason why, if you can avoid it, don't add mediums to your paint. Of course, sometimes you need to, but it's best to try to avoid it all you can and just use tube paint as much as possible. I think one of the next steps will be to sign this. If you're viewing the painting from a distance, I noticed that I had a bit of an issue with the fawn here. I had somehow made it appear that they were all kind of one deer, so I had to put some forest junk, just twigs and busted sticks and stuff like that, in from some reference photos that I have, and then I'm using this hog bristle brush to stipple and soften these edges, because I'll come in and put the dark of the twigs, and that'll be, those edges will be plenty hard here in a bit. There's a couple ways to soften edges that I really like. One is this stippling. The other is my finger. The other is a dry brush, gently dragged over the top to blend an edge. And then the other one is painting wet into wet. I have a dry painting here, so I didn't have the luxury of that one. All right, next I'm gonna come in and add the twigs.
After you put those one of your two colors, it's only 1 minute. And when you're done, it's 0 minutes.
I don't know what that means.
I'm timing you.
Oh gosh, wow, pressure. So I wanted to video this signature because this is a very special signature. And you'll find out here at the end. I always put this little dove carrying an olive branch. This is my little, I guess you could say, prayer for peace. It's just my little way of signing off on a painting. But here's what is new. I was notified about 3/4 of the way through working on this painting that I was accepted as a signature member of the Society of Animal Artists. And I finally get to put this under my signature. One of the proudest moments of my career, if I'm being completely honest. Look at that. So grateful. All right, I finally finished that painting here. Took me long enough, didn't it? It's the last day of January, and I started this painting back at the beginning of December. Or maybe it was about a week into December, I don't remember. But anyway, here it is. I learned a lot about oil painting by tracking the methods of the masters, or tracing the steps of the masters, I guess you could say. And I don't know if I will work that way a whole lot, but I did learn the value of not being too worried if your first pass isn't the way you want. Because the more layers you put down, the more freedom you have to make changes and adjustments, and sometimes the more interest you can create. So I think I'll do the technique again. I think it lends itself a little bit more to portraiture than landscapes. I could see how a face broken down in those steps would be a whole lot easier to do than, you know, a landscape, where I think I'm safe to do some sketching and then dive in and make adjustments as I go along. So I almost never do the same start twice. I've done over 1,000 paintings, and I'm not sure I've started any two of them exactly the same. I'm searching for that like magical way to start a painting that'll be specific to me and sort of my own method. And, you know, maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't. I mean, I think part of the value of each painting is that it's a different phase of my life and a different phase of my skill set and psychology. And so I think going forward, I'll keep myself as free as possible to experiment and study and grow and learn new subjects and new techniques. But I did learn a lot from the Flemish technique, even though it took me a very long time. So thanks for watching this video. There's another video on my channel of the first half of this painting, and then this video is the second half of the painting. So if you're kind of interested in the drafting and grisaille phase, you can go back and watch that part 1. And I kind of cringe at being this person now, but if you do like my videos, boring and slow-paced as they might be, please feel free to like and subscribe. I'm not sure I'll say that again. I'm begrudgingly doing it now. Well, anyway, thanks for watching the video, and hope to see you in the next one.